Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be listing off my top 10 favorite metal EPs. Now, this is sort of a video I kind of already did, but sort of an updated version a while ago, I think 2 years ago at this point. I did a video of my top 5 favorite EPs, but that list is completely outdated. And of course, it's gone from my top 5 to my top 10 now. But yeah, this is just basically a redo of that, I guess. But again, the list is expanded and changed almost completely. But anyway, now before I get into the list, I do have one honorable mention. One that I'm kind of surprised didn't make my top 10, considering that when I made that original video, it was actually my number one. I think it was my number one on the video. I don't know. I don't even remember what my number one was at that point. But the honorable mention is "Haunting the Chapel" by Slayer. It is a really amazing EP and one of my favorite Slayer records. But yeah, it when I have my top 10 now, and it's just I love it, but there's a lot more that I like now, but it's still amazing. But anyway, so now I'm just gonna get right into the top 10. Coming in at number 10 is, hold on, I have it here. There it is. So I don't have these in order, so I have to shift the pile. I have a pile of records around to get to the ones I'm looking for. Anyway, in at number 10 is the EP "Cease to Exist" by Metal Onslaught. Yeah, Metal Onslaught was kind of a short-lived thrash metal band. I believe they lasted from 1986 to around 87-ish. I believe I think they called it quits right after this EP, actually. I know the band changed its name, I believe, or maybe just, I don't know. They were something else after this, but they weren't really the same band anymore. I think the band was called, honestly, I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, this is their second release. Of course, they put out a demo in 1986. But yeah, very simple thrash metal. Nothing too extraordinary or anything like. But I think that's really the point of this band. Really, is that they just put out simple, enjoyable thrash metal. Old school thrash metal. But yeah, just really great. Simple but effective, riffing and solo work. Really good vocals as well. Yeah, nothing really to it much other than simple, enjoyable thrash metal. But yeah, "Cease to Exist" by Metal Onslaught is at number 10. All right, number 9. Oh, there it is. Coming in at number 9 is the self-titled EP by Queensryche. Yeah, I know most people would have this higher, but I mean, and no offense to these EPs that I have lower on this list. I love all of them, but it's another one that originally I probably would have higher, maybe at least a year or two ago. But there are others that I like more. But yeah, this is still a great EP. Even the last track, "The Lady Wore Black," has kind of grown on me over time. Originally I didn't like it. I don't think it's a fantastic song, but I do like it a bit more than I originally did. And then Jeff Tate's vocals on "Queen of the Reich" especially is just amazing. Um, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, overall, an absolutely fantastic EP. It's really Queensryche's only full-on metal release. They would get a little bit more, I guess, experimental or whatever later on. There'd be a bit more hard rock too later on as well. I'd say maybe, I'd say to an extent their first full length is still pretty much heavy metal, but yeah, this is really the only release by them that I like. But yeah, it's fantastic. Pretty great production for 1983, and also a really cool fact about this EP, the song "Night Rider" specifically. Slayer actually did a cover of that song during their very first live show. Although the original band that did the original song, of course, Queensryche, wasn't credited. But that's weird. But yeah, the Slayer did a cover of a Queensryche song. Oddly enough. But yeah, awesome EP. Number 8. Number 8 is the self-titled EP by Hellion. Really great heavy metal band. Kind of, I guess, kind of forgotten about these days. They haven't put out much over the years. In fact, I think they only have maybe 2 or 3 full-length albums. Most of this band's discography is pretty much just EPs and live albums. Yeah, this is actually a 1986 re-release, but at the same time, it's not exactly the same version as the original 83 version, because it has a completely different track listing. Now, I do still like that 83 version, the original one, but this one I think has a slightly better track listing. It has 6 tracks instead of, I think the original one had like 4 or something like that, 3 or 4. Yeah, there's some really great stuff on here. Break the Spell, which I think was a single. Driving Hard, really great. Don't Take No for an Answer, another good one. Backstabber, I think, was also a single. Fire, which was okay. Oh my god, Up From the Depths. Unfortunately, this doesn't have lyrics to it, or I mean, like a lyric sheet, so I don't know the lyrics. But yeah, Up From the can't speak today. Up From the Depths is probably their best song. Period. Like their best song they've ever recorded. But yeah, really cool. More of a kind of similar to Metal Onslaught, sort of a more simple metal. In this case, more simpler, straightforward heavy metal. Classic heavy metal. Not really trying to do anything spectacular or anything. Just some simple, enjoyable heavy metal to just sort of headbang to and just sort of enjoy. Yeah. All right. Number 7. Oh, there it is. Nope. Oh, yeah, there it is. Sorry. Again, this pile is not organized at all. Number 7 is Metal Before Death by Mantis. This is not official. This is actually like a unofficial release, but I don't care. It's still great. This EP is actually it's technically a compilation. It's a compilation of 2 different rehearsal recordings, but at the same time, it's still like marketed as an EP. So I don't know. I don't even know if a compilation EP is actually a thing. But yeah, whatever. I guess it's an EP. According to both Discogs and Metal Archives, or not Metal Archives, the Hell's Headbangers. I'm pretty sure that was where this is actually from. Anyway. Yeah, so there's really only 4 songs on here, but most of them are fantastic. Rise of Satan is the first one on here. Really underrated Mantis song. I don't think that one was ever played live. Of course, the title track of the band, Mantis, which is my favorite Mantis song. Just a great fast-paced headbanger. And the solo is one of my favorite Chuck Schuldiner solos. Zombie, it's alright. And then Demon Flight, which is another very underrated Mantis song. But yeah, really great EP. Not the best audio quality, and of course, Mantis has never had the best audio quality in terms of releases, even the remastered stuff. But oddly enough, this is a way more fuzzy, and just like the audio is just way more hazy and fuzzy sounding than even on any other release. But it doesn't matter because you can still hear everything quite well despite that. Oddly enough. But I'm not really one to complain about production, but I just think it's odd that out of every Mantis release, both official and unofficial, that I've heard so far, this is really the only one that has like, the audio quality is like extra out of the way, like fuzzy and hazy. Maybe just because it's rehearsal recordings, but it's just a odd comparison to even the rest of the Mantis recordings. But yeah, despite that, it's still a fantastic EP. But yeah. Number 6. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Number 6 is Invocation of Spirits by Nocturnal Blood. This is their second EP. Hold on. Actually, I'm gonna take it out of the case just to show you guys a bit better. The case, the outer case, does not do this EP justice in terms of looks. Maybe the back, but actually, I'm gonna take this out. I just love getting this out of the case. I love this picture disc. There you go. Invocation of Spirits by Nocturnal Blood. Great black and death metal band, and this is one of their one of their best recordings. I'd say this, and then their first and only full-length album, Devastated Graves, The Morbid Celebration, which is another album I still need to get down to reviewing. Yeah, there's only 3 tracks on here, but they're all fantastic. Invocation of Spirits is probably my second favorite Nocturnal Blood song, apart from Ghoul's Wrath from their first and only full-length album, of course. Blood and Purity is also great, and then they do a really cool cover of the Hellhammer song Reaper. But yeah, really great riffing on here. Solo work is a bit different than you would expect. It's not as, I don't think it's as chaotic as on the other 2 recordings that I own, of course, Devastated Graves and then the True Spirit of Old. It's a bit more tame on this one, but it's still notable, I guess. The riffing is probably the most notable thing about this demo. It's just really good, just simple chugging riffs, and that just are just super, just heavy and evil sounding, along with the cavernous production, which is very consistent. Every release that I've heard so far by this band has this really great sort of evil, cavernous, sort of deep sounding production. That's one of my favorite styles of extreme metal production on recordings. Is the the very deep, evil, cavernous sounding production that are on stuff like on the first 2 Sepultura recordings, as well as the Under the Sign of the Black Mark album by Bathory, stuff like that. I love that kind of style of production. Yeah, really fantastic EP. Hold on. I really should have put these in order. Hold on. Give me a second. I think I'm on number 5. All right, yeah. Number 5 is... Oh, is that it? Nope. No, wait, that's it. All right, there we go. Anyway, number 5 is, of course, a Morbid EP, and that's Death Execution 3. I always found it weird that they skipped 2 and went to 3. There's Death Execution and Death Execution 3. But anyway, really awesome live recording. It's actually the last. It's actually a recording of the very last live show with Dead before he would leave Morbid to join Mayhem. But yeah, I mean, it's not the best in terms of in terms of live recordings. I think the best is definitely Live in Stockholm, but it's still great. And yeah, sure, there's only 3 tracks on here, but they're all good. Um, Although I really wish they would have had Wings of Funeral on here, but that's all right. There's still other great songs. There's still 3 other great songs on here. But yeah. Also, it's probably one of the best looking EPs. Well, it's a picture disc. Of course, it's gonna look awesome. But just look at it though. It's this really cool, very elegant sort of design around Dead's photo, and then you have the sort of memorial plaque there with the dates of his birth and death. You can't really see it very well, but there you go. I think that's. Sorry, the lighting in my room isn't very good at the moment, so sorry if everything's a bit hazy. That really happens a lot in the evening. My camera does not do well with just pure lighting from my room. Usually there's the sun shining through my windows into my room. Usually record these videos in the afternoon. That makes the lighting situation a lot more it's a lot better. But anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. But anyway, but yeah. Also, I do really like this version of Out from the Dark. The part in this version where the part that slows down and Dead does, the very ghoulish gasping and just wailing. Not wailing, but gasping and like moaning, growling in that slowed down bit. That's probably my favorite part of this entire live recording. And that, yeah, sure, it sounds great as always on every other version, but here for some reason on this version it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds the best for some reason. Like, I don't know, it just, it's one of those things that sometimes live recordings, certain aspects of them sound better than the studio versions, which isn't usually the case, but it is here. Anyway, but also this is a really, really, really hard thing to track down. But if you can, definitely get this. I highly recommend it. One of the best official Morbid releases. Number 4. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Number 4 is another Morbid release, Ancient Morbidity. I had a hard time deciding which I was gonna put at number 5 and 4, because I love both of these very, very much. So it's really hard to choose what would go higher and what would go a little lower. But at the end of the day, I had to go with Ancient Morbidity. It has a bigger song selection by a very slight margin. It has technically, in terms of songs, it has one more song and then like a bonus track at the very, very, very end. That's not actually listed on the track listing. So this is actually, I believe this was, I don't know, I don't remember if this was a compilation of different recordings. I know the very, very last recording was actually not from, I believe, from the same set that I think most of these are on from. Because the very last recording, the unlisted one, is actually a spoken word piece by Dead that was recorded in '85, back when the band was called Scapegoat. It's a really cool, eerie spoken word bit. That's at the very end of or after Necrodead. But yeah, 3 studio tracks: Tragic Dream, really cool instrumental, From the Dark, one of the best Morbid songs, my second favorite Morbid song, Wings of Funeral, my favorite Morbid song, Necrodead, which is actually a live version. Yeah, I forgot for a split second, but yeah, Necrodead and then the last unlisted track are not from the same set of recordings as the first three. Um, but yeah, also with both Tragic Dream, from Tragic Dream, From the Dark, and Wings of Funeral are actually not the same versions as on December Moon. They're actually a little bit different. Especially with the From the Dark, it's a little bit more. It's a slightly longer, and just the instrumentation is like the parts of the instrumentation are a bit different. It's not the exact same. I guess you could call it a work in progress version, but yeah, it's just a really cool EP. Uh, Also, this is, I believe, one of the very few recordings with their original guitarist. What's his name again? Not Napoleon Pukes. What's the other guy? Gehenna, I believe. Yeah, Gehenna. He would actually be replaced with TG. Or was it the other way around? I know one of the guitarists was replaced with someone else right before they recorded December Moon. Actually, let me check. I believe. Oh, where is the. I was gonna get the CD version, but it's like way up on the top of my shelf. Uh. No. I don't know. I can't. It's too dark over here. Like my shelves are pretty deep, and the light doesn't hit the thing that I need. I should just get a mini lamp to put there. But anyway, I'm really making this video a bit too long. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is, I think, one of the very few recordings that has their original guitarist. But anyway, I should just get to the next one. I'm making this video too long. It's already 22 minutes. Anyway, coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 3 is Hell by Vol. Another record I still need to review. I haven't gotten down to reviewing this one yet either. But a really underrated thrash metal / speed metal band. They're a newer band. I think they formed, I believe, was it? Maybe it was 2014. I might be completely wrong about it. I know they're a relatively newer band. This is I think this is their third release, second or third release. I'm not too familiar with this band. I really only am very familiar with this recording as well as their Split album. I know they did at least maybe 2 or 3 other recordings. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, really great speed metal / thrash metal band. Great vocals, great old school raw production. Yeah, you get some really great songs on here. Empress of the Void, Hellraiser, Chainfist, Ancient Spell, Storm of the Witches, Swill Queen. Yeah, out of most modern metal bands, I find the best ones to be the ones that basically keep the style of old school metal alive, both in the sound of the instrumentation, the vocals, and the production. And this band definitely sounds like they were just plucked out of the '80s and put into the 2010s. This came out in 2018. But yeah, it sounds very much like old school metal. And if I didn't know that this band was newer, I would have definitely legitimately thought they were an older band. But yeah, really amazing EP. Number 2. Number 2 is Bestial Devastation by Sepultura. Yeah, one of the very few good Sepultura records, in my opinion. Early on, Sepultura had this very unique sound. They were one of the pioneers of Brazilian extreme metal, especially the blackened death thrash kind of thing. But yeah, it's kind of hard to categorize their early stuff in terms of just the genre. Usually I just refer to them as death metal, but I know the technical term is, you know, a, a blackened death thrash or that kind of thing. But it's just easier to just say death metal, and I know that's not quite like accurate to the thing, but it's just faster to just say that. I usually am more specific with stuff, but with this early kind of stuff, the very early stuff like this, they could be just they're just such intertwined with a bunch of early versions of that kind of extreme metal that it's sometimes very hard. Not specifically Sepultura, but the bands in this area in general. Sometimes it's just very debated whether certain bands are this is black metal, this is black and death metal, this is death metal, this is black and death metal. Black not black and black metal, but just the whole different sort of like thing. And I'm pretty sure like at this time there weren't all these different categorizations and stuff. Stuff was usually just called death metal or thrash metal or just metal in general. But yeah, they pioneered all that kind of stuff in the Brazilian metal scene at the time. And it's just another record that has the really cool cavernous, raw, just deep sound to the production. But yeah, really amazing EP. And number one is The Call by Necrophobic. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of their later albums. But most of their early material from the late '80s to like mid '90s, most of that stuff is actually really good. This is my favorite Necrophobic release, and it's actually their only release with their original vocalist. Now this is a 3-track EP, and only 2 tracks are actually fully fledged songs. The first one is an instrumental, really great instrumental, very sort of like very ominous and just very foreboding. Kind of like with the rest of the tracks on here, but that very intro instrumental just sets the mood for the rest of the EP. The guitar work is fantastic on here. Just this very great, gritty, low, sort of just a very gritty, low, ominous guitar tone. Really great riffing, great sort of atmospheric, evil solos, and yeah, the vocals again are really fantastic. That it's the kind of vocals you want in this kind of old school, raw death metal kind of thing. But yeah, it's a fantastic EP, and it's my number one favorite metal EP of all time. All right. So that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, sorry this took a lot longer than it should. I was rambling here and there, but it happens sometimes. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.